Let's watch Sam O'Nella. Brand new video, Salmonella Academy. It's called Where Animals' Scientific Names Come From. Let's see. Salmonella Academy, let's watch it. Can we get snackies? I already got my snackies. You should have thought of that when I was getting my snackies.
Hey kids, I just woke up from a nap I took in January of 2020 and boy are my arms tired. Let's see what I missed.
When you last uploaded?
Queen's dead, war in Ukraine, the Taliban's back. What is... Holy shit. They made a movie called Scoob. Unprecedented global pandemic, Space Jam 2.
He doesn't even mention that they didn't make a movie called Scoob Holiday Haunt. Excuse me? That's the bigger story. They canceled a movie called Scoob Holiday Haunt.
Some popular guy named Brandon. Yep, that just about covers it. Anyway, we all know about the scientific names of animals, but did you ever wonder what they actually mean? To find out, we must look to taxonomists. They're the guys responsible for the systems of nomenclature we use to classify organisms. And boy, are they convoluted.
He's a big fan.
First, you got the big eight: domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. I've seen plenty of mnemonic devices for this, but since the D just showed up in the 90s and is still disputed by some scientists, he's usually not included. So allow me to suggest a few. Dizzy kids puke cereal on fairground staff. Dumb kittens pushing cups over feeds growing spite. Donkey Kong's oh, fucking serendipitously. The way this whole thing works differs slightly depending on which kingdom you pick. So today we'll be sticking to the animal one, cause that one's the coolest and I'm in it. So what constitutes each taxon is pretty arbitrary. They basically just serve to act as another set of branches in the tree that taxonomists build. The one exception is species, which is generally defined as any group of animals that can have babies with each other that aren't sterile freaks. Mule, liger, zedonk, skunk ape, they can live fulfilling lives, but they're all shooting blanks, so they don't count. On the other hand, in our innumerable trespasses against God, we can make things like Chidane.
I'm sorry, those are real? Ligers are real? Like a lion and a tiger can have a baby called a liger? And they just can't have another baby? That's a real thing? Ligers are real. Liger. A liger is a hybrid offspring of a male lion and a female tiger. Wow, it's real. There's even tigons. Wait, a liger is the male lion, and the tigon is what, like the male tiger? Whoa! That's crazy. I literally didn't know this was even possible. I didn't think different species could have babies.
Which actually work, so dogs are dogs are dogs. Besides species though, it's the Wild West in here. Plenty of times, 8 tiers isn't even enough for scientists, so they just stick new sublevels.
Wait, mules are this? Mule's not a separate species? What is a mule? A monkey and a ghoul? Like a ghost has sex with a monkey and that's where a mule comes from? That's crazy. And you guys all agree with that? That's what it is? It is a monkey ghoul situation? Wow. You learn something every day. Thank you, guys.
Levels in between. Legions, cohorts, tribes, series, divisions, and if you want to keep going, you can throw all kinds of prefixes on any of these for even more layers. There's even subspecies, which the more pedantic of you may think to yourselves that creating names for subspecies at all kind of undermines the single somewhat agreed upon definition in the whole tree. To that, my friends taxonomists say, But while that's pretty complex, the actual names themselves are pretty easy to wrap your head around. Though taxonomists may hide behind their fancy Greek and Latin, the Vulgate is no substitute for wit. Now, I've scraped through the scientific names of a load of species, and most of them can be split into a few categories. The simplest ones are the animals that already have names in Greek or Latin. It's a lion, I'm calling it Leo. Done. Tiger, it's a tigris. Cat, it's a caddis. Easy. Multi-word names can be translated the same way. For the golden eagle, we got Aquila chrysaetos. Gold eagle eagle. They decided to be a show-off and do eagle in Greek and Latin. Essentially the same though. But if a species is too specific or exotic for a one-to-one translation, that's when you gotta get a little creative. A lot of the time, inspiration comes from just giving the creature the old once-over and pointing out some cool-looking body part. Generally, the more distinct of an identifying feature it is, the more likely it'll get in the name. For example, Homeboy took one look at this thing and said, "Yup, red triangle slug. I'm going on break." We call this thing a fucking unicorn, almost like that means one horn or something. Also, some guy deadass looked at an octopus and said, "Well, all they got is heads and feet. I'ma call them headfoot." And now biologists everywhere say cephalopod unironically. Matter of fact, if it's got feet, chances are that's part of its name somewhere.
Headfoot? That's crazy. I actually didn't know.
You got 4 feet, 6 feet.
It's so much
feet,
less fancy than I thought. All this stuff is way less fancy than I thought.
2 feet, equal feet, both feet, double feet, stomach feet, lip feet, sucker feet, wing feet, big feet, slow feet, or feet, both feet, joint feet, no feet, 10,000 feet, cow's feet, spade feet, cat feet, small feet. If it doesn't look that interesting, another thing to point out is where you found it. This could be a territory like American bear or Siamese crocodile, or just a habitat like woods macaque or toilet rat. But that's boring. We need to look at the men behind the map.
What was the point of this? What is the point of having a separate name in Latin for everything? It doesn't accomplish anything. It just sounds fancier. Tradition? Scientific classification. But you can classify them in your fucking native tongue. You could just say it's the American bear.
American bear or Siamese crocodile, or just a habitat like woods macaque or toilet rat. But that's boring. We need to look at the men behind the magic and what drives and motivates them. Now, if there's one thing that the scientific community loves, it's clout. And there's no better way to go down in history than plastering your own name on some shit you found. But not all fields have the same volume of things to scribble the old John Hancock over. On the one end, you got physicists just making up their own slightly different form of ionizing radiation measurement. And even then, only the top dogs got away with it. Now, zoology, any little goober flouncing through the underbrush can say, "This one has 13 spots, but the one in the book's only got 11. I will call him Splinkus's ladybird." Alternatively, plenty of biologists have given shout-outs to their contemporaries, both other biologists and those across the academic gamut, from geologists to physicists to explorers and more. Naturally, Darwin's got a shitload, but even the background characters get immortalized one way or another. Who are Thomson, Grant, Summering, Erlanger, Speke, and Cuvier? I don't know, but they've all got gazelles, so they must be pretty cool. Of course, other times, the name checks go to people who had fuck all to do with anything except for one taxonomist being a fan of theirs. Plenty of popular celebrities have species named after them, but since all the big cute stuff was found and branded a while ago, most of these idols are commemorated through repulsive little invertebrates. You got Scaptia, Beyonce. The only similarity I can gather here is Queen Bee. It looks like a bee, but
wait, how does that fucking... There's no like authoritative body? Is it literally finders keepers? Like the first person to write about it gets to name it? Is that how that works? You find a fucking bee and you can name it Beyonce? You find it, you name it. Wouldn't there be like a global... Damn, I guess I was really underinformed in this area because all of this is kind of shocking me. I thought it was way fancier. I picture like the world's best scientists in like a big fancy library, and they all debate upon it and then come upon a name that made sense in Latin. And I guess that's not how it went at all.
There's Anomphilus gregarius, an old stone named after an old stone. In 2007, one Jason Bond, a professor of biology at UC Davis, dubbed this little dude Myrmecia Neil Youngie to honor his favorite musician, which caused my man Stephen Colbert to go on TV and profess his utter indignation at not having a spider named after himself. So naturally, the next year, Bond actually went on the Colbert Report to announce the naming of apostagist Stephen Colbert. So, if that gives any of you epic biologists out there any ideas, you know, I wouldn't be opposed. Please, I would do anything. For the love of God, I'll even take a lichen. The world of politics is by no means immune to this.
So what are you guys fucking lazy for? You guys haven't found one species of cow that you can name the coffee cow? You guys can't find one fucking... You can't find one fucking thing out there that we can name after the stream. There's a Germa. Wait, someone said there's a Germa one? Germa literally has a thing? There's a bacteria named after Germa? That's crazy. It's a mean thing to call Ludwig, dude. Just because he copied Germa early on does not mean he's a bacteria, dude. That's fucked up.
Phenomenon. Obama alone has fucking 9, as do a load of other presidents. Trump's got a moth with funny hair, Bush has a fungus beetle, Reagan's a wasp, Carter's got a darter, and so forth. Even Austria's most famous painter got the honor through this blind cave beetle. Mind you, it was 1933, so you can only blame the guy a tiny bit. Hitler actually wrote him a letter saying, "Oh, thank you, my little entomolomensch," and then went on to do, Hitler things. Fun fact, not only was this beetle stuck with just about the worst name you could have, it's also now facing extinction solely because of its value to Nazi memorabilia collectors. Guess old habits die hard. Oop, fictional characters have their fair share of species under their belt. On the topic of evil beetles, this one's named after Darth Vader because he kind of looks like his helmet, I guess. This was actually named by the same guy who did the Bush one and belongs to the same genus. There's also this mite, genus Darth Vaderum, which is a lot more accurate and frightening. In 2012, a single bone from above the eye socket of a hitherto unidentified theropod dinosaur was being studied. And suddenly, under the light of the full moon, the guy working with the specimen had his neck covered with hair and his lips clench into a pog and his endocrine system filled with soy, and he said, "It's just like the eye of Sauron." And then he started chewing on Funko Pops and sweating cream of neem and snorting G Fuel and shitting D20s everywhere until the prostate stimulation made him. The dino's genus is now Sauroniops, from Eye of Sauron. This spider was named after Godric Gryffindor because it looks like the Sorting Hat. SpongeBob has not a sponge, but a fungus. The legendary birds from Pokemon each have their own, you guessed it, beetle, and the list goes on. Scientists are nerds. Who knew? Anyway, while this all seems kind of chaotic, there is some method to the madness. One rule is the principle of priority. This states that once somebody publishes their chosen name for a species for the first time, that's the name, and other taxonomists typically can't change it. This has led to plenty of misnomers coined by whoever got their foot in the door first, particularly in the case of the guys doing this stuff before we had the luxury of genetic analysis. Here's one. Red panda? Nah. Shining cat, coined in 1825. To be fair, they're actually about as close to cats as they are to actual pandas, so whatever. Here's 2. Capsicum chinense. Eaten there? Sure. Native? Only off by around half a globe, where literally all hot peppers came from. This principle holds true even if someone thinks they've found a new species, only to later discover that it was already named. For example, in 1824, one John Edward Gray documented the plain zebra, calling it Equus burchellii, or Burchell's horse, named after a renowned naturalist of the day. Little did he know, back in 1785, some other douche classified this character as the quagga. The last quagga died in a Dutch prison in 1883. So, why do we care? Well, in the 2000s, scientists decided to scrape some gunk off a dry quagga pelt and study its DNA. And from that they realized, wait a minute, apparently this guy and zebras could have, made a little plaid in the hay together. So technically they're one species. And today they're both called quagga. Sounds kinda asinine, but then again so does asinus, and that worked out fine. Just to maintain the distinction, the extinct subspecies was renamed quagga quagga, so you know it's the real quagga. This double naming convention has been done with a lot of subspecies, in fact. Wild horse, spotted panther.
This is dumb. Wait, this is dumb. This whole thing is dumb. Why do we do it like this? This is all really stupid. This is how we fucking classify animals across the globe? This is dumb. I'm losing my faith.
Favorite, gorilla. Just like, yeah, it's the gorillest gorilla that ever gorilled. Fuck you want from me. A closely related rule also states that the names of all taxa have to be unique. So if two people coincidentally name any taxa on the same thing, the older one gets to stay and the new one gets the boot. Like if you saw a genus called echidna, you'd think it was, an echidna, right? Well, no, that'd make too much sense. For a while it was true, from 1797 to 1811. Then it was pointed out that someone else already called a genus of moray eels echidna back in 1788. So the real echidna had to be changed to Tachyglossus, or
that's dumb!
Then a decade later, a dude did the same thing for a genus of vipers. Another 22 years passed, people discovered the same thing, and they were renamed to Bitis, cause they bit us. That one at least made a bit of sense, given that the original echidna from Greek mythology was half lady, half snake, but who cares at this point? Anyway, I've just barely scraped the surface of all the goofy names out there, so feel free to post more down below. That's all I've got for now. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and I'll see ya in 20...
Thanks, Salmonella. You shook my faith in the entire fucking scientific system. I love how your videos are both professional and poorly made. That's not that much of a compliment, bro. I thought it was pretty well made. You missed the last one? Wait.
2025. Don't say it, don't think it, don't say it, don't think it.
I will find a cow that can be milked for its coffee.